Hey everyone, I'm Nido King, and we're back with our special guest.
Hi, JamieTheD again.
And we're going to be doing some grinding with Ellen, but first, I've got some unfinished business.
The best kind of business in this game. Oh, wait. No, the other way around.
Yeah, I prefer finishing things as much as I can, but just like in the last grinding video, there's one quest that I did as Ellen that I completed, I did well enough, but I never got the perfect score.
Ah.
And I will not let that stand. This will not be a complete LP unless I get the perfect score at everything.
Damn straight.
So we're returning to Mystery Messenger.
Oh.
Yeah, you remember this one. This is where every time you capture a folk, that becomes the only folk you can attack with.
Yes. Yes, I do remember this one.
And interestingly enough, this is when I discovered that there's different speech if you go back and do a quest a second time. I'm kind of wondering whether that's even worth putting in a bonus video at the end of the LP.
That's a really tough call, actually.
But I figure what I'll do is I'll record all of them, see how much time I've got, and then decide whether to stick it in there or not.
Yeah, that works.
Kind of interested to see how they get you to go back and redo some of these quests, because all the DLC ones you can play as many times as you want. And I think particularly the ones where you get folks, you tend to get rewards that'll help you build up those folks.
That would definitely be a factor. There's no New Game Plus in this game as far as you're aware?
No.
No, so it wouldn't be that.
As soon as you beat the final boss, you can't go back into any of the fighting areas. But, you know, the end of the story, there's not really a whole lot of call to go back, I don't think.
No.
And right here, before you go fight the final boss, you can go anywhere, do anything. So I'm not really sure what good a New Game Plus would do you.
Yeah. Plus
I'm not going to make you sit through this at full speed.
No.
We're going to go a bit faster.
But, no, it is good to see all the interesting twists and turns of the story so far.
And as of this recording, we haven't seen all the quests yet. I haven't posted them all.
No.
But right there is pretty much the key to getting all the folks in the first half of this area. There's a bullseye over in that room. And the other key is that Ogma will just sit there and sleep if I don't go near it. So there's plenty of time to capture a Boobry, and then deal with the Ogma on its own. The other neat thing is that if you capture all the folks in a room, or kill them all and then come back, there's only one or two of each type left.
That definitely makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, but I'm not going to abuse that. It's kind of stupid. I'm going to do it the fun way. Yeah, it would have been nice to capture a Peg Powler the first time in the room, but you can't hit them with bullseye.
Ah!
So I needed to use Ogma.
Yeah, because the whole floating thing.
And you have to bring a Peg Powler into this room in order to get in, because there's blue crystals. And then, of course, there's Barghest in the next room, so we've got to bring a slash element with us. And this is the one area where I did better in this take of the quest than I did the one before this that I forgot to record. Or rather, decided not to record because I didn't think I was going to do all that well. And I ended up beating it.
Welp.
But, yeah, I got to this room, I accidentally captured one of the folks, and had to go back and get another Fraxinus. Because the only way to get Barghest's id is with slash. But that's easy enough to do, and then it's just a matter of remembering which direction I need to go. So that's a perfect score for the first half. I think there's only 9 folks, and I got them all.
Yeah.
The second half is a bit trickier. It's kind of nice to see that he's not even keeping up the pretense anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're just doing this test for me. This room goes a lot faster when I speed it up.
Well...
And it's a boring room.
Yeah. To be fair, fairies have traditionally been dicks. There was the old one where a guy wants to guy gets told to bake a cake to get his girlfriend back, or some similar thing, and a fae comes to his door, and at first she asks if she can have the cake he's baking, and he says no, that's not for you, I'm sorry. That was the first thing a fairy considered sin. The next time, she tried to pick up the cake, and he slapped her hand. Oops, shouldn't have touched the fairy. And this goes on until finally, the guy appears to die. And the story ends with the fairy opening the coffin and saying, "Ah, for me."
Yeah, so what I just did there was pretty much the biggest variation from when I did the quest originally. I went the other direction from that first room with a hobbledy in tow.
Yeah.
And that room has a degasser, which is the only destroy element you'll find in this half of the quest. Takes forever to defeat that with Azrai, but I made it. And then with Degasser, I can capture a Gaboy, and then I can use that to take a Warthog down. And this room, the secret was abuse the geometry, which I learned from Fairy Photo Part 1.
Oh, right.
So you just keep the Malabaricus away from you, either by luring it behind those columns, or more likely, hiding behind them yourself, while you take down one of the Alrane. And that should be it.
Cool.
You can go back if there's any folks you missed and capture them with Malabaricus. But I don't need to do that because I was careful. So there we go, the final quest in the game that I needed to get the perfect score.
I do like Ellen's reaction.
Yeah, except the Fairy Lord's kinda dead at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so admittedly this quest is a bit easier if you come back after building up some of the folks that you couldn't do in Chapter 3 when it was first available. You know, particularly, I think, Bullseye is one of the important ones.
Yeah. That's a fair amount of rewards.
Yep, if you get a perfect score, you get everything, including a whole bunch of golden ores. And those are actually useful, because I still haven't finished building up Grab Bag yet.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, I could have done that in, well, earlier chapters if I'd gotten it that soon. But since you only get it when Keats is in Chapter 5, I didn't do that until Ellen was done with Chapter 5.
So, now of course we're on to the grinding.
Yep. Needed to kill a whole bunch of folks with Gladiolus.
Which is a flower.
Yep.
There is very little mythological significance to most of the flower-named folks, and Gladiolus, however, is one of the few I've been able to find a relatively commonly agreed meaning in the Code of Flowers. You see, a long time ago, courtship was actually kind of watched over, and occasionally you needed to say secret things. So a couple of people made code books of certain flowers, which meant that if you knew your flowers, you could send secret messages to each other. Unfortunately, Gladiolus was not a good sign. If you sent someone a flower message with a Gladiolus, it would mean pain. Your words have wounded me. Other examples include hollyhock, which is ambition. With you as my wife, I could achieve great things. Jasmine, which is apparently a code for how dainty and elegant you are. Suffice to say, I will never receive this flower.
I can't get to that mandragora. It managed to work its way up on top of the ridge.
Oh no!
That's the only reason that I left it in there. I had to kill a whole bunch of these guys. We'll see how many there were in just a bit. But that was the run right before I got the final green quartz that I needed to build up one of my quest folks.
So, yeah, looking down this list, we've got Telanthera, which is an underwater plant. Muscari, which is notable for its grape-shaped flowers. Gladiolus, a flower. Agapanthus, another flower. Bergamot is, most commonly an orange tree, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, although I'm pretty sure there's a herb of the same name.
Yeah, I've heard of using bergamot to make tea.
Well, we use a lot of things for tea, to be honest. Amobium is a flower. Bougainvillea, however you pronounce that. I'm terrible with...
I think it's bougainvillea.
Yeah, bougainvillea. Protea is a flower. Prota, I wasn't able to find anything about. Same with Alonodite. Amaryllis is a flower. Best known one is Amaryllis belladonna. And also Amaryllis, the only other link I was able to find was an old band called the Amaryllis Consort. So, unfortunately, we're a bit light on mythological names here.
I knew I should have brought in a botanist.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But it's okay, because we have... Well, we don't have Corapuna in this one, but we did discover that apparently, according to the Peruvian myth about Corapuna, which is the biggest volcano in Peru, and meant to be an abode of the dead, rivers in Peru are apparently meant to be formed from the bodies of the dead, slowly desiccating. Ew. That's... Ew.
Well, I guess that's why they say don't drink the water.
That would be a very good argument for that, yeah. Radian is, of course, a measurement of the
Radian is a unit of angular measurement. It's the angle which, if inscribed in a circle, cuts off an arc with the same length as the radius of the circle.
That's the one. Honeypot is a bad stereotype. And
well, I've heard it used in a lot of contexts, particularly when we're talking about network security. A honeypot will be a very obvious and easy to break into computer on the network that's basically meant to waste the time of anyone intruding in the network, and probably have extra security in it so that you can trace whoever's getting in without them knowing about it.
Yeah, one of the original ideologically contested meanings is basically a woman who is very attractive but is a trap. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just prefer to think of it in Winnie the Pooh terms.
This is true. Winnie the Pooh is a wonderful, wonderful creation.
Yeah. I just want to enjoy planting a whole bunch of them in this field and eating all the hankies to death.
I can definitely get behind that. But then we have the actual mythological ones, which are all actually kind of interesting. Good example, Old Goggy, the Scottish version of a kind of fairy or spirit or whatever, called an abbey lubber. Now, fact is, back then, back in the Middle Ages, a lot of abbeys, monks, bishops, whatever, were kind of corrupt in their demanding of tithes of food and wine and other sorts of fun things. And an abbey lubber would, depending on the viewpoint, either try and share in the ill-gotten gains, which of course would annoy the bishops and abbots no end, or was a spirit that was for the common people and was trying to punish these abbots and the like for their blatantly thefty ways. There's also an entirely separate version for corrupt innkeepers. That was buttery spirits. But their function is essentially the same. There's no unified description of what they look like, although many portrayals are of them as particularly fat, jolly ghost monks.
Oh, I was going to say it's probably Paula Deen.
Oh dear. Then, of course, we have automata, which is, on the face of it, is a word for a machine. But it gives us a good chance to briefly look at automata in mythology. So you have things like the Colossus in Greek myth. You've got...
Was that actually a moving machine outside of God of War?
Well... There's a lot of argument. Because you could argue it was a living machine, you could argue it was a titan, you could argue it was an entirely different creature entirely. Half the fun of mythology. But Talos was, a big bronze mechanical man. As far as I'm aware. Then, of course, you've got the Golem of Prague, which, like many myths, has a hell of a lot of versions where sometimes the Golem turns hostile, sometimes the Golem saves the people of the ghettos in Prague, the Jewish ghettos. But always, it's a man made of clay, which is an emulation of the biblical thing that we are children of clay, as opposed to children of fire, which are angels. And it has the three letters which form the name of God. Aleph, Mim, and Tav, I believe they are. I could be wrong about this.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with either Hebrew or that kind of religious knowledge.
Wait, not the word for God, the word for life. I apologize.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought God was Yahweh.
Yeah, no. It's the word for life, and then when you erase the middle rune, Mem, it becomes the word for death, which turns it off.
Oh, okay.
Or kills it, depending on whether you consider it a living thing.
So the myth came about by a clever bit of wordplay.
And then you have Cyhraith, which is a Welsh spirit. Fuck yes. It's very similar to the Irish Banshee, or Banshee. Slight subtlety of pronunciation. It's a psychopomp, which means that it foretells someone's death. There's no ambiguity about this that I'm aware of. It's literally one of those spirits that wails before someone dies. Like the Banshee, like the Banshee, let's use the English bastardization. The Cyhraith wailed for the death of Welsh natives who died away from home. It would walk along the Glamorganshire coast, wailing before shipwrecks. And apparently it would occasionally be accompanied by a kind of corpse light. Swamp gas, will-o'-the-wisp, call it what you will. In Welsh, we call it canwl y corff, corpse candles. Very rarely seen and generally believed generally noted in the myths as being invisible.
Yeah, and here we are for our triumphant victory lap as I go through every karma that I've unlocked.
The other thing about the Cyhraith is it comes from most often seen around the region of the River Towy, which is not to be confused with the River Tawe. One comes from Carmarthen, one goes through Cardiff and Swansea.
I completely forgot about Ambush.
Yep. Oh, well.
Which is a shame, because this is the chapter where I actually started using it.
Since this is one of the last ones we have to do, this would be a good time to talk about the last one on the list, which would be Scarab. Now, scarabs are obviously an Egyptian thing. They're mostly associated with the Egyptian god Khepri, who is represented as a scarab rolling the sun across the sky in the same way that a dung beetle will roll its little dung ball along the desert. They'd become pretty popular as decorations, personal administrative seals, jewelry, and for commemorating royal achievements and the like, by the Middle Kingdom period, which is about 2000 BC, or BC if you're going to be fiddly about terms.
But not currency.
Not currency, no.
Oh.
No.
I was lied to by Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy.
They were used as funerary amulets. They were not actually associated with the rites themselves. They were just decorations on mummies in the period. And they were popular all the way to the end of the Pharaonic period, so when the pharaohs were around. And that's pretty much it about scarabs, really.
Yeah, I don't know any more about insects than I do about plants.
Yeah,
math, and that's about it.
So that's pretty much all the folks, I think. Unless we've missed one.
I don't think we have.
Hmm.
We went over all the new ones for this chapter, and all the ones from previous chapters have been in the past, although there is another collection of folks to come. But I'm going to save that until after the game ends, because it's a completely different thing.
Ah, right.
It's pretty neat, though. I didn't actually expect it to still be online. I was just going to stick a thing in the bonus video to say, well, here's what it would have been if it still existed, and turns out that it does exist.
Huh. Well, this has been very fun.
Well, your job's not done yet.
It isn't?
No. You'll be back.
I'll be back.
But next time, I'll be defeating the final boss.
Oh, yeah!
So stick around.